Hi CHHS, it's really great to see you here in 2019. I hope that you're having a great semester thus far. I'm really excited to bring to you a new initiative that we're kicking off in the college. I hope that you'll have an open mind and I hope that you'll engage fully. This is about our aspiration in Beach 2030 and really investments that are being made in our college to pursue interdisciplinarity in ways that the CSU has never done before. But I think also at the same time, while we design our own building that will help us come together as a college, it's important to think about our culture and the kinds of things that we'll need to be successful in those endeavors. Thus, as I indicated at our convocation in the fall, we will be kicking off and launching a climate and culture initiative to really help us grow every day in our ability to work more cohesively as a team. In this video, you'll see a presentation that I made to one of our departments. It's about 2 hours long, but it includes also opportunities for you to dialogue with one another. The idea behind this video is to introduce the concept of how I think we might be able to move forward in designing our own culture and helping all of us to accelerate individually and as an organization. First, you'll hear a little bit about one of the tenets, a growth mindset, something we've talked about extensively as a university and certainly within the college. I hope that the video will help promote thinking about and discussing about growth mindset and how we can incorporate it in everything that we do, not just for our students, but also for ourselves. Second, I'm going to posit the idea that we have an opportunity to sharpen our focus, to really know what our goals are. And this is critical because if we're going to be thinking about how to work as a team, it's also important to understand our unique and individual roles in pursuing our overall organizational goals. Every person is important, and knowing our why and our sharpened focus is so essential. Thirdly, you'll be hearing about ideas around design culture. You know, Fortune 500 companies have been talking a lot about design culture and learning to work together as a team, creating environments where innovation is fostered, where individuals feel valued and respected, and their voices are heard. And I think in order for us to fully optimize all of our talent here, we really owe it to ourselves to work on our own design culture. Therefore, I hope that you'll have a lot of dialogue and a lot of ideas about design culture, but you'll hear what some of our initial ideas about how we might go about doing this in this video and have a chance to dialogue about it. Lastly, you'll hear about the idea that maybe we could think about ourselves as a team. We'll be using Patrick Lencioni's book, 5 Dysfunctions as a Team, so that we can really begin to use that framework to think about how we can foster more team-like engagement in our college. I hope that you'll enjoy, I hope that you'll engage, and I hope that you'll have an open mind. I want to start also by thanking our CHHS Tech group who were instrumental in helping us bring this video to you all. I want to highlight that no one in our group has videography experience, nor do we have videography equipment. And so therefore, the video that you'll be viewing was not professionally captured. I want you to please have an open mind and realize that we're doing the best that we can with what we have. And there are moments in the video where sound may fade or the visual may not be perfect. Please persist through, because I think if you do, you'll get the gist of what we're trying to communicate. I'm here because I'm really wanting to share some ideas with you. Ideas that we want to begin to launch throughout the college, and to some degree we have with our staff. And I really want to give you a context for why I want to have this conversation with you. And I want to tell you that this conversation requires an open mind. Is there anybody in here that doesn't have an open mind? Okay, good. Because this conversation's not going to go so well if we don't have an open mind. Because some of the things I'm going to posit today are not things I've ever seen in higher ed. But it's an interesting question of why not. Because organizations that function at very high levels are doing this. And think if we want to continue on an ever path of growth and development and innovation, we have to be innovative and borrow some of the ideas from business and industry that are working. And so I'm going to talk about accelerating individual, which means your individual careers, and our organizational success. There are some important caveats to that, because organizations, as you all know, many of you in here are part of a background in athletics and sport, and you know, if you were part of a team, that we can have individual needs and ambition be ill-aligned with the organizational goals. And when that happens, there's challenge and oftentimes conflict, right? You know what I'm talking about? So it's really important when I talk about accelerating individual goals that we also want to make sure that our individual goals are aligned with our organizational success. And that's really important introspection that every individual on our team really needs to have. I want to talk about 4 key things that I think we can do as a college that I think can set us apart from other places maybe on this university, but also set us apart from incredible things that are happening around the country in higher education. And I don't know about you all, but I'm in the business of being the best that I can be. Every day I want to get a little bit better. And I hope that you're with me on that point. So I want to give a little bit of an overview here, because I'm really going to be, like I said already, I gave you the warning, I'm pushing the envelope and I asked for an open mind. Today is about sharing ideas about systematic improvement in everything we do. I think if we think about doing that, we can have individual and organizational gains. Make sense? Everybody's with me on that point? Now today, you're going to interact with people at your table and with me. And we're going to explore some topics that may be sensitive. And so I want to set some ground rules. It's important that we refrain from personalizing, blaming, or attacking others. And I know that in many workplace environments, perhaps ours, perhaps in the Department of Kinesiology, perhaps elsewhere in our college or on our campus, there may be emotions or hard feelings. And I know that we're coming in with that history. But what I'm asking for is an open mind and a willingness to use those experiences to help us learn and grow, but not to personalize them and create barriers for moving forward. Now that's a tough ask I'm asking for, but I'm asking for it, and I want you to please give me a chance to help me figure it out. Help us figure it out. I think an investment in that is going to help move our organization. Everybody understand our ground rules for today? Cool. All right, so I'm going to start with who we are as a college. And notice that I have Juan back there. He's filming this. Everyone in the college is going to see this video, and so I wanted to keep things very general for the college. But like the college, the Department of Kinesiology has a lot of incredible accolades. Many of them are individual accolades. Many of them are programmatic accolades, things that we do better than anyone else in the country. And I can think of so many as I look at the faces in this room. But overall, we have a lot of students in our college. We have about a quarter of the students in the university. Did you know that? It's big time. There's about 34,000 students here at Long Beach State, and we have about 9,000 of them here at HHS. And kinesiology is a large part of that. You're a huge department. So what matters here matters for the university, and what happens here matters for the university and matters for the college. So those of you who maybe sit in the room, well, what can I do? Maybe I have an insignificant role. No one here is an insignificant role. Okay? So we also have one, I don't know if you knew this, but HHS produces the highest research expenditures in the university, $10 million a year annually. One of the downfalls for that that we don't experience a lot of benefits from is it's really from a lot of state contracts. And we don't get the F&A return because we have an F&A return policy of must meet a 26% threshold in order for us to get the benefit. We have core values. And to me, this defines our excellence. Now, we've adopted these core values, but we haven't really rolled them out yet. And here's what I've asked faculty council to do. So those of you who are on faculty council know that I'm asking the council to look at where are these core values already embedded in everything that we do. because in order for us to know where there's opportunities for really further integration, we should start with where are we at with really having and buying into these core values. And these are our core values. I don't know if you know them, but they are integrity, growth mindset, collaboration, and innovation. These descriptors help us, I think, define that which is excellent. And when President Conley talks about inclusive excellence, this is our inclusive excellence. These are the things that we want to have everyone have the opportunity to excel, thrive, and succeed in. Right? So this is really important, I think, for our college. And, I also want to put the idea out there that just because we've adopted these doesn't mean they're static. We should visit them often and revise them if they're not quite right. Because that's what great organizations do. We revisit the things that we do often. We don't do one and done and put it away. We have to be in a position where we're looking for systematic improvement and looking at those things that define us and create the course of action in each of us that we really want. If you were in part of the new faculty orientation meeting that I attended yesterday, one of the things I said is, RTP document. That's something that shouldn't be a one and done, put away for a while and then look at later. We should be looking at that on an annual basis. Why? Because we are a dynamic institution. And if things that we want to do and we want our faculty to be able to do are not rewarded or supported or evaluated in that RTP document, is it going to happen? Probably not, right? Probably not. So it's so important that we incorporate these ideas in our processes. I want you to know that we matter to where we're at, and we asked members of the faculty from healthcare administration to work with folks from econ over in business and administration, or I guess it's not the College of Business, to really help us assess our regional and economic impact. And you can see from these numbers, the total effect for employment is pretty doggone high. So in other words, health impact of HH, or the impact that we have here in our region is no small thing. It's a big deal. In addition, these are things that I collected partly from what KIN does. These are health-related program services provided to the community. On an annual value of those services is $1.2 million. These are services we're providing. When we bring kids on our campus to do things that we're actually doing in LifeFit, these are things that are major contributions to our economy. We also have a lot of internship hours where our students go out. College has 977,000 hours on a per year basis. That's a lot of hours. It's more than anyone on campus. That is a $26 million benefit to the health community in our region. So this is significant. We matter a lot. So I like this, especially because it reminds me of who we are. We are the beach, and this force is amazing. We are a major force, and great things happen here. But here's a challenge. Now, I know some of us in this room maybe haven't thought very much about this, and especially if you're early career, you haven't thought about this at all. But if you've ever thought about administration, or you've been in this game for a while, you've seen a lot of changes. And there's speculation that higher education is not very nimble. No, it changed very much in a century. And yet, our society we live in is changing a lot. And some people speculate that the value of a college degree may be not what it used to be. Have you ever heard that before? Well, that has people like me, Provost Jersky, and President Conley thinking a lot about what can we do about that. So our Beach 2030 exercise was largely part of what's the future of higher ed? What's the future of the beach? Where are we going to be in 2030 and beyond? What can we be doing now? What are the things in our environment that are signaling to us that we need to shift and change? And that's what we're really thinking about in the Beach 2030 exercise. But it's not so easy just to pick out aspirations, right? Because, again, we just highlighted, change is rather slow in higher ed. It has changed to some degree, but not the way that society has changed. Those of you that study childhood obesity, how many of y'all are in this room study childhood obesity? Think about the kids today and what their life is like and the life that you had. Man, television wasn't even on. It showed up at 10 o'clock when I was a kid. Can you imagine now today? Look at how many channels there are specifically for kids. And the only thing I can remember as a kid is news stations being on, which I didn't care about at all. I didn't want to sit in front of the television. Now there's so much stuff going on to attract a child's sedentary behavior, competing with anything else that we might do in this room. That's changed a lot, and that's just one generation. If you think about the kinds of changes that have happened in higher ed, it's no different. The changes are abundant. And if you think about the information technology that has really inspired how people learn, that's changed a lot. But yet, we have not changed that much. We've thought about MOOCs and we've thought about distance education, but we really haven't had a total shift in our paradigm in what we're thinking of doing. And it's time for us to do that. It's time for us to do it. So Long Beach State University and HHS is exceptional now. We are. It's a great university. And every day I think about how wonderful it is to work with such talented and committed people. It's a very humbling position I find myself in. But we have to ask ourselves this question. What are our competitive advantages, and how will we maintain them in an ever-advancing society? Beach 2030 is really about that. So to me, when I think about a question like that, the first thing I think about is what are our assets? And to me, assets are not buildings. They're people. We have some of the most brilliant people in our college. And I don't mean just the people who are in this room. Kinesiology is comprised of all of these individuals. Part-time lecturers, full-time lecturers, assistant, associate, full professors, department chairs, facilities and instructional technology staff, advising staff, administrative support coordinators, and foundation staff. That's our whole team. If any one of these folks isn't here, we've got a hole in our team. Right? We're not able to really perform as well. We could get by, but maybe not perform as well. If we could get by, then we have to ask ourselves, why did we hire that position? And I'm going to assume that every position we have is vital. Every position that we have here matters and matters a lot. All right. I also think we're so lucky here. Aren't we lucky here? How many of you have taught students at other universities before and they're just not like these students? You know what I'm talking about? These people are special. They just so inspire me. They really do. They are on our team as well because of the way this university functions. We are a very student-centered university, and we tap all of our resources, including our students, because they're smart, they're diverse, they're ambitious, they're community-minded, they're self-initiating, and they're inquisitive, and they have an incredible, insatiable desire for growth and opportunity. I just love that about our students. And I feel like when we think about who's on our team and the people that we have as an asset, we ought to think also about our students. They're an incredible asset to us. So in order for us to really talk about those 4 topics that, I really want to delve into next, I think it's really important to understand this is not Lounsbury's thing, or Mimi's thing, or even Tiffany's thing, right? It has to be everyone's thing, or none of this stuff will work. So this is a picture of, a nondescript human being looking in the mirror. It has to begin with us. And one of the things I really want folks to understand is we need everybody engaged. Not sitting outside the circle, feeling like you're not part of it, thinking about everything that's going wrong, but thinking about what your contributions are to making sure that we get it right. Right? Do you know what I mean by that? That's a very different orientation, passing the buck. We can't do this important work if we're not all in. Okay? So change happens with everyone in mind, but it starts with self. Me too, right? I'm in it. So here are some ideas worth exploring, because we can have aspirations in Beach 2030, but if we really want to do these things, I think we have to truly have this adoption, a genuine adoption of growth mindset, which means we're going to get to that, which means, though, we're on a perpetual path to improvement. Every day, you're going to get better and better, just like when you were an athlete, right? Every day you went to practice with the goal of, I want to get better. You know what I mean by that? We want to get better. And we got to sharpen our focus. What are we doing here? How do we measure it? How do we visit our assessment of what we're doing and make market changes, how we do things, so that we get better outcomes? In other words, not the one and done kind of thing. We're on a perpetual path because of a growth mindset, but we've got to know what we're doing. And I think if I ask people in the room, we might have different ideas about that. This is really exciting, the third idea, and that is, I think we have a shot to design our own culture. You, in the Department of Kinesiology, and every department within our college, has a shot to design your own culture, so that we understand how we work, and how we work with each other, and we understand each other and one another's roles. And we value the contributions we individually and collectively make, right? As if we are on a team, recognizing we each play different positions on that team. So important, right? So many times we walk into a workplace environment and we have a culture of default. The culture is what the people have made it who are there. And sometimes it's really excellent, but it's not really well defined or understood. I am positing the idea that we can deliberately design our own culture, and this could be one of the best and most inspirational places to work ever. That sounds fun, doesn't it? I hope you think so, because remember I said open mind, right? And then the last idea is we want to develop and foster HHS as a team. And by that, we want to really foster the idea that the Department of Kinesiology, holistically, all the members that we just mentioned, are part of the team. And I want to talk about how I think we can do this. All right, the first one is adoption of growth mindset. And this is simply the idea that we can get better. We can get better every time we come to work. Every day, incrementally getting better, and that we're striving to get better. And I have a little video just to illustrate this for us, and it's a little different than the one I showed before at
World-renowned Stanford University psychologist Carol Dweck, in decades of research on achievement and success, has discovered a truly groundbreaking idea: the power of our mindset. In one of her earlier researches, she wanted to study how people cope with failures. She did it by watching how kids grapple with hard problems, so she gave children in their school a series of puzzles to solve. The first ones were fairly easy, but the next ones were hard. Confronted with the hard puzzles, one 10-year-old boy yelled out, "I love a challenge!" Another, sweating away on those puzzles, looked up with a pleased expression and said, "I was hoping this would be informative." Carol always thought you coped with failure, or you didn't cope with failure. She never thought that anyone loved failure. Not only weren't these kids discouraged by failure, they didn't even think they were failing. They thought they were learning. Carol at the time thought that human qualities were carved in stone. You were smart or you weren't, and failure meant you weren't. If you could arrange successes and avoid failures, you could stay smart. Struggles, mistakes, and perseverance were just not part of the whole being smart picture. Those children, on the other hand, thought that human qualities such as intellectual skills could be cultivated through effort. And that's what they were doing. Developing their intellectual skills, or simply put, getting smarter. So what does this mean for you? It shows us how a mindset can have a profound effect on your life, and that there are two mindsets: fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Believing that your qualities are carved in stone, which is a part of the fixed mindset, creates an urgency to prove yourself over and over. If you have only a certain amount of intelligence, a certain personality, and a certain moral character, well, then you'd better prove that you have a healthy dose of them. That's why people with a fixed mindset shy away from challenges because they're scared their deficiencies could be unmasked through it. The growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through your efforts. Now, growth mindset doesn't mean everyone has the same talent and abilities. It just means everyone can grow through hard work, mentoring, and perseverance. So why waste your time looking smart when you could be getting smarter? We are slowly conveying these ideas that smart and talented people don't make mistakes and they don't work hard. The most important thing in the world is to be smart, talented, and look that way all the time. What happens is people start narrowing their world so they can succeed within that fixed mindset. But let's take a quick look at the world of sports. Michael Jordan actually wasn't a natural, but he was the hardest working athlete perhaps in the history of sport. It's well known that Jordan was cut from the high school varsity team and he wasn't recruited by the college he wanted to play for, and he wasn't drafted by the first two NBA teams that could have chosen him. Weren't they foolish? Now we know he was the greatest basketball player ever, and we think it should have been obvious from the start. When we look at him, we see Michael Jordan, but at that point, he was only Michael Jordan. So when Jordan was cut from the varsity team, he was devastated, so his mother told him to go discipline himself. Boy, did he listen. After that, he used to leave the house at 6 in the morning to go practice for 3 hours before school. He had the growth mindset. He knew he could develop and improve his skills through hard work, and that's how he became the Jordan we all know today. So what can we do to engrave growth mindset into ourselves and others? Just knowing about the two mindset can produce incredible results. The other thing we can do is praise more wisely. When we praise people for the process they engage in, their hard work, their perseverance, they learn to stick to challenges. Praising talent, on the other hand, makes them vulnerable. When we tell someone, "You did that so quickly, I'm impressed," they hear, "If I didn't do it quickly, you wouldn't be impressed." Or, "You got an A without working, you're so smart." They think, "Oh, if I work, you're not gonna think I'm smart." Instead, when you give praise to other people, you should try something between these lines. "I like the way you tried all kinds of strategies on that math problem until you finally got it. You thought of a lot of different ways to do it and found the one that worked." This way, you praise hard work and not the so-called talent. Also, telling people they are smart is one of the biggest mindset crimes you can commit. In one study, they actually found out that telling people they are smart lowers that person's IQ. Here's a common question about the mindsets. Can you have both mindsets? Many people have elements of both. You can have different mindsets in different areas. I might think that my personality is fixed, but that my intelligence can be developed. Or that my social skills are fixed, but my creativity can be developed. Carroll found that whatever mindset people have in a certain area, that mindset will guide them in that region. You have a choice. Mindsets are just beliefs. They're powerful beliefs, but they're just something in your mind, and you can change your mind. So try your best to put yourself in the growth mindset every time you face a challenge. That way, you will be better than yesterday.
Okay, so now here's a time where I want you to share ideas. I'd really like you to think about this, and I'd like you to think about it for yourself and as an organizational standpoint. All right, so many of you already alluded to this. I mean, a lot of your comments were directly related to this. Great, right? Matt. Okay, Matt. Matt said, look, we got to have goals. And I think he's right about that. So we can't work together if we don't know what our goals are. And that we don't feel we have a valued and very important role in helping us to achieve that goal, right? Going back to this idea of being a team. So what if we sharpened our focus a little bit? And so I'm going to show another video clip that I really like a lot.
Why I'm here. Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is motivated by my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did the 6th episode. It's on YouTube. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country and I do stand-up comedy, in case you know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, and it's, you know, it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm going to show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor. You know, can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr.'s Break Time. Check it. So you're a musical director?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know the version, just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Okay. Here's what I want you to catch. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
Okay. So, knowing our why. Do we perform our role with the intention of purpose of our why? I want you to talk at your table. Do we agree on our why? And what do you think our why is? What is it? Okay? Let's see if we can come up with some ideas. Yeah. Yeah. But I think when our mission is so large and complex, we lose ourselves in it, and then we get mission driven individually and maybe collectively. You know, there's barriers to the really academic, the traditional academic way, I think, of just knowing our why. You know what I mean? But I don't think academics have ever started with the point of we should know our why. We've always started with let's project who we are to who might read this, not necessarily how do we make it functional for us, and so that we understand our individual and collective role in accomplishing this mission. Right? I'm not sure we've written our missions with that in mind often. At least I never have. So I want to share with you what President Connolly feels is our why. These are the pillars of our new strategic visioning: inclusive excellence, academic rigor and achievement, and public good. And these are why this university is here. This is what she really wants us, I think, to focus on Beach 2030. And we should be thinking about how we, I think in the college and certainly within each of our departments, contribute to each of these. And it should kind of all fold up into the university's why. But from the big standpoint, when you take a 10,000 foot view, this is really the why. But this why isn't detailed enough for us to be able to sing Amazing Grace differently, right? So we have work to do in really defining these things, but we've got some guidance, I think, from President Connolly. So really this exercise has really helped us learn as a department. We have work to do to really define our why and be able to try to, through that, help everyone on our team, our part-time instructors, our staff, our faculty at all ranks understand their role in helping us get to our why. That's so important. Everybody has a position to play on this team. We need everyone rowing in the same direction. So, I think it's really important that as we think about our why, we need to answer these questions. So we're not going to do this now, but how should we go about defining them? How should we go about creating measurements so that we can visit how well we're doing on our why? Because if we're on a team, and I'll use sport as an analogy because we've started that way, we'll just go ahead and go with the sport analogy. But teams have games and they have competition, and at the end of the competition they know the score. And they know whether they won or lost. And it's really clear what kind of work they have to do, either to maintain and excel where they're at, or to correct some problems that were, disclosed or exposed during the competition. But how do we measure what we're doing, or do we measure it? And do we use those measures to adjust what we're doing? I think we do that through accreditation process a lot. But I don't know about this department, but every department I've been on, its accreditation is like, whoa, it's the most grueling thing, right? And we do it like right when it's due, but I'm not sure we use the process systematically to guide so that, when accreditation is up, here you go, here's your document, we've been doing it all along. Like, ideally, that's how my laundry should work too, I think, But instead, it piles up, right? And then who knows where the other stock mates are, probably, because we just can't find things, right? We lose stuff. We lose stuff, and we lose the richness of what we're doing when we don't systematically visit our outcomes. So I really want to posit this idea. We need to come up with ways to define our why, measure our why, and to systematically attend and respond to the results of our why all the time. That's why I think we can't have static stuff. Like, we can't have things that are like, oh, that's a one and done. Accreditation's a one and done. RTP is a one and done. I have to think about it for a while. We have to visit this stuff always. All right. This should be number 3. What if we designed our culture? So this is the next big idea. How many of you have been looking at Silicon Valley and all the things they're really espousing, these really great work environments where people are inspired, they're collaborative, it's innovative, they have things that support their workforce. Sometimes there's childcare or a salon right there, or a spa so you can get a massage. I have a tension headache, you know what I mean? It's like really designed workplace for helping the workforce be successful. Because they want people engaged. And they want people to perform at high levels, right? But they support it. We at Long Beach State want you to perform at a high level. But I'm not sure that all the supports are there all the time. You know what I'm saying about that? Because I always feel like we're always I'm asked to, and you're asked to do more all the time. Sometimes it's too much, and then we get grumpy. Do you ever get grumpy at work? Like, that's a little too much. My plate's a little too full. I'm a little grumpy now. Right? I think we could do better. I think successful organizations foster and facilitate success. They create environments that inspire people to be innovative and collaborate. And they support the workforce. They understand the workforce needs, and they make coming to work easy. We strive and focus on this for our students, but do we do this for us? We don't, do we? As much. Parking's not something I can help with, though, so let's not talk about parking. I know that's a thing, but that's why I'm really talking about the things that we can't change. So, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've already said this. Man, I feel I'm really, really lucky that I have this job, and I want you to know that I do not think this is a power position for me, or that this is a very humbling experience for me, and I take it very serious. And I understand that I'm a facilitator for a lot of your ability to do your job. And so I want you to know that I take great privilege in serving as dean, and that I understand I have a role to play. And I'm going to get better every day. But I'm going to make mistakes. And when I make a mistake, we're going to say we made a mistake, we're going to do what we can to fix it. And that's what we're going to get better and better. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect, and I'm going to get better and better. So I love my job, but I also thought, how can everyone feel the way that I do? Because I know that when I was an assistant professor, I know I didn't feel this way about my job. I wasn't at Cal State Long Beach, so maybe that's a different context. But I know there were challenges. I know that I didn't understand, a lot of the infrastructure, and I didn't feel like some of the infrastructure supports were there. And some of the things were just because, but some of the things I thought that we could do something about. So this idea, what if we were to develop and maintain our own purposely designed culture? Why do I think this? Because we spend a lot of time here. A lot of time here. And how we feel at work affects many other aspects of our lives. Right? And I think it affects my mental health outlook, my physical health for sure. We can, however, establish a workplace environment where everyone is, or can we, I guess, can we do this? Where everyone is respected and listened to, valued and invested in. And where we work together as a team to systematically seek opportunities for strengthening performance and optimizing our time. Where we take checks on how we're spending our time. And where mistakes are looked at as opportunities for growth and as part of innovation. And the last one is really important to me, because I like to have fun. This is a fun environment. We have the best jobs in the world, do we not? I mean, we're shaping the future society and the workforce for the communities in which we live. That's what we get to do here. What a cool job. What a great calling. Such a privilege. Let's have fun at it. Let's create a fun environment where we all like to be. We work in a culture of default, though. We should work on designing our culture. I have never seen this in higher education, where people, faculty, departments, staff, part-time instructors, part-time lecturers, full-time lecturers, come together and really build a consensus on design culture. And we're doing this right now with staff, so I've learned a lot from that. So I'll share them with you in a minute. But right now, you have some sticky pads in front of you. They're college notes. They're notepads, and they're for you to keep. But I would like to take one of them and write down the description of the most ideal workplace, the utopian workplace. If you worked there, maybe you do already. But what would be the most ideal workplace? All right, in terms of our culture, here's what we did with our staff, and it really worked. And so we're going to roll this out with our departments writ large. We did a survey, and the survey is very simple, and it asks you, in an ideal, positive workplace climate and culture, what do you observe? What gets done to you? And what do you do under these three circumstances on a daily basis, when something goes wrong and when things go right? And from that, we get a lot of qualitative responses. And then what we'll do is we'll turn that back to your department, and you all will pick up the themes of what is in your positive workplace climate and culture, and you'll work the rest of this year, probably next year, to define those things that are the thematic results of what you believe is a positive workplace climate and culture, and you'll work hard to identify the actual practices within your workplace that reflect those things. And we'll do that by having individuals be assigned to bring cases that are no-name cases about things. The last thing, 4, what if we function more like a team? And check out this quote by Patrick Lencioni. Not finance, not strategy, not technology. It's teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage. If you could get all of your people in an organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. Do you think that's true? Think we can get our organization to row in the same direction? Like herding cats, huh? I think we can. I'm forever an optimist, and I think we can start where we're at. And so this is the question I have, I guess, for the college, and I'll pose it to you, and I know that many of you have been on a team, so this might be easier for you to see, but across the college it'll be interesting to see what people come up with. But are we a team? So a team is a group of people with different skills and different tasks who work together on a common project, our why, service, or goal. Together, individuals on a team execute a meshing of functions and mutual support. So I would posit the idea we're very capable of being a team. Do you think it's true that, people do different tasks on a common project? Like if you back away and talk about our why, like why do I do that, why do I do that, why do they do that? Do we get to a common spot? I think maybe we could. And if we do, can we think about individuals on a team, on our team, executing different things, functions, for the mutual support of our goal or our why? Do you think that could happen? Probably, right? So I guess we kind of did this as a group. Are we a team? I think that we maybe don't have a buy-in that we're a team. One of the things I want you to know is that we are going to be thinking about using the 5 dysfunctions of a team to help us work more cohesively together. So for the purpose of building climate and culture and helping us traject in this way, I'm going to be using this analogy of us being the team. And we can't be thinking that, it's somebody else's job or somebody else will deal with it when we see things that somebody needs assistance or there's help or support is needed. One of the reasons why people don't want to be a chair is because it's a tough job.
Right.
It's a tough job. But it's not so tough when you have people who are going to buy in. And they're going to support what you do. And everyone knows that the department chair has to make tough decisions. And hopefully they use objective and fair judgment and logic. And it's not personal. We make a decision that's not favorable to what someone may have wanted. That's part of, having to be the leader. But we need our team to support the decisions that we make, right? And that's so important. So thank you so much for saying that. All right, what else? What else do we want to talk about? Good teams that we are part of. What were they like?
I haven't read any of the books, so I don't have any on the lists. But the most successful teams I've been on have cared about each other.
They care about each other. That's right. People got your back on a team, right? And they're not a knife in your back, right? I know that's sort of like that's a characteristic of a bad team when you can't trust people.
Trust is big.
Trust is
To
a big
me,
deal.
That's number one.
Trust is the number one thing I think
I gotta trust you.
and that is, by the way, the first step in building our team is trust. We're going to build trust. So anything else you want to add? That was a great list, by the way, Matt, so appreciate that. What else do we want to add to our list of good teams? Anything else you can think of you want to put on our list?
So that communication.
Good communication. Excellent.
Opportunities to build relationships.
Opportunities to build relationships. Good.
Affirmation.
Affirmation, that's right.
Recognition.
Recognition, opportunities for growth, right? I don't know, I think some of the teams, like when I make a mistake, people still believe in me.
Yeah.
Like there's a belief, like we've seen you do this, we know that you can ace this team, we've seen you do it 1,000 times before, and people support you in the job that you do. Okay, let's talk about the bad team characteristics now. Like what are some things like that bad teams that you've been on are like? They talk about each other.
Behind their backs, we're not willing to clicks.
There's cliques. People talk about each other. We talk about the stab in the back instead of the pat on the back, right? The support. Cliques.
Think about the big picture, the why.
self-interested, right? I mean, there's just selfish.
Or commitment.
No commitment to the organization, lack of commitment to the organization, lack of commitment to the team,
No commitment and lack of work ethic.
lack of
Yeah.
work ethic. Oh, just a little thing.
Yeah.
Although I've seen, yeah, social level.
You know what I'm talking about right there? Thanks a lot, dude. I hope that you've discovered through this exercise that it's possible for us to think about ourselves as a team. And it's also possible for us to think about how to become more team-like on a daily basis. We will be using the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team book by Patrick Lencioni to help us really discover how to overcome the 5 dysfunctions over the course of the next couple of years. I want to begin by helping you to understand a little bit about the tenets that are discussed in the book by watching this quick video clip.
Hello there. In this video, you will learn about a very useful model that will help you build your own high-performance team. If you've ever been a part of a team that's quite dysfunctional and wanted to know how to improve that team's performance, then you're going to find this very helpful. The model is called the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and it was originally created by Patrick Lencioni. I've been using this model for many years with the management teams that I've worked with. The model describes the main reasons why teams can become dysfunctional and gives you very clear ways that you can turn that situation around and become a high-performance team. So let's get into the model now. As you would expect from the name, there are 5 parts to it. Starting at the bottom, the primary reason why teams are dysfunctional is an absence of trust. Very simply, the people on the team do not trust each other. They don't know each other very well, and they're not willing or able to be open with each other. They pretend that everything is okay, and they're not prepared to show their vulnerability to each other. So in this model, when Lencioni is referring to trust, he's mainly talking about openness, people not being open with each other. Now, trust is more than just openness, though. It includes things like reliability, acceptance, authenticity, and the amount of focus there is on oneself. How trustworthy we are is dependent on how reliable we are, how accepting we are, how open we are, how authentic we are, and to what degree we are concerned with ourselves rather than the other person. Now, each of those components of trust you can improve if you choose to. Okay, so that's the first dysfunction, an absence of trust. When there are low levels of trust amongst the team members, it leads to many other problems. Now, you will know that this dysfunction is not a problem for your team when people are being open with each other, when they are doing what they said they would do, when they're accepting of each other's differences, when they're being authentic, and when they're thinking more about each other than themselves. Okay. So let's now look at the second dysfunction. If trust is missing, then team members are unlikely to speak up and say exactly what they think and how they feel about things. There's a fear of conflict. They worry about what might happen if they speak up, so they don't. This means that meetings are boring. Everyone's just nodding their heads and going through the motions, and it leads to artificial harmony. It looks like things are okay, but they're not. There's no healthy disagreements. There's no challenge. Now, you will know that this dysfunction is not a problem on your team when people are speaking up during meetings and saying what they think and how they feel about things, and when there are good, robust, challenging discussions that lead to better decisions that people are committed to. Now, if your team meetings don't look like that, and the fear of conflict is present, then you can guess what happens when people leave those meetings. They probably don't agree with the decisions that were made. They don't really know exactly what direction the team is moving in, and they're not committed to following up on actions that they're meant to take. Instead, they go back to their work colleagues and complain. So that's the third dysfunction, a lack of commitment, and it leads to ambiguity. Because team members have not said what they think and how they feel about things during meetings. And the team has not had good, robust, challenging discussions about issues. poor decisions get made that people are not committed to, and there's little follow-up, there's no alignment, and energy is wasted. Team members don't need to all agree on things to be committed, but they do need to have expressed themselves and been heard. Now, you'll know that this third dysfunction is not a problem with your team when you can see that people are following up on decisions and taking actions that they've committed to. There will also be clarity about direction. Now, if there's an absence of trust, a fear of conflict, and a lack of commitment, then it's not surprising to see the fourth dysfunction, an avoidance of accountability. People are not holding themselves accountable for their own performance and behaviours, and they're certainly not holding each other accountable for performance and behaviours. In other words, there'll be very little feedback happening. People will turn up late for meetings, they'll not be paying attention in those meetings, they'll be checking their cell phones, and they may be behaving in other ways that are just simply not good for the team. Deadlines might get missed, actions won't be taken, and there'll be little or no consequences for those things. Now, all this leads to low standards, and it's just all very unprofessional. Now, you will know that this dysfunction is not a problem for your team when the team members are giving each other high-quality feedback on a frequent basis, and specifically when people are not behaving in line with your team agreements, other team members will be calling them out on it. And when this happens, the person receiving that feedback accepts it and knows that it's a good thing. Let's now look at the fifth dysfunction. It's not surprising that if all the other dysfunctions are present, then you'll see an inattention to results, particularly the collective results of the team. Instead, people will be focused on their own performance, their own status in the group and the organization, on their own egos. It will all be about them as individuals, trying to make sure that even though the team is a mess, they still manage to look good themselves. They'll not be pulling in the same direction. The energy of the team will be dissipated in lots of different directions. They won't be helping each other. They won't be asking for help. They won't be seeing opportunities to collaborate and create more value. Now, you'll know that this dysfunction is not a problem for your team when you can ask all the team members what the most important goals of the team are, and they all give you a similar answer. And you see them helping each other to achieve those goals. So there you have it, the 5 dysfunctions of a team, originally created by Patrick Lencioni. If you learn just one model to help you create a high-performance team, it's this one. I've also adapted this model for you and framed it in more positive language, which you might prefer. You could use this one too. So, starting with a high level of trust, quality challenging discussions, clarity and commitment, frequent high-quality feedback, and a focus on inspiring collective goals. So please introduce this model to your team. You could show them this video, talk about it, identify where your team can improve, and keep referring back to it. Next to this video, you'll find some activity guides that you can download and use with your team. Building a high-performance team is not complicated, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. You do need to do some development work with them. When you familiarize yourself with this simple model and keep talking about it with your team, you will see performance improve.
A lot of insight that you've had a lot of opportunity to discuss and explore, and it's piqued your interest. You may be wondering how we're going to actually pursue any of these ideas. And so this slide really helps us go over what I believe could be our tentative game plan. So I'd like to posit the idea that we need to have regular department team huddle meetings. And this is where we could grow our mindset, really work on adopting it individually and as an organization, really think about our why and our goals and our individual roles and achievement of those goals. Our core values, of course, are focused on and are reinforced in everything that we do around both of those topics. I think also in these meetings, it's so important for us to explore facilitation of design culture and its integration in everything that we do. We also want to work on the development and fostering of a team. So you may be wondering, well, who should attend these huddle meetings? And I really want to be explicit about this. We need everyone to be in. We need every full and part-time faculty member and every staff member to participate. How long will the huddles be? Each group needs to decide how often you meet and how long huddle meetings will be. And bite off just a little bit of each one of these 4 tenets to work on as you proceed throughout the semester from this point onward. So who will lead the huddles? That's up to your department. You all should have a discussion about whether the department chair or another designee should lead the huddle meetings. We will be having trainings and we'll talk about huddles so that whomever is facilitating these discussions has support and the resources they need to move forward in helping the department succeed on purposeful designed culture. When will the huddles begin and when will they end? So they're beginning now. Now is the first day, and they will be in place moving forward. We hope that it's part of everything that we do. And lastly, let me close with, we are where we are, and it's okay where we are. We should use what we have, and we should do what we can to move forward and to improve every day, just a little bit better than we were yesterday. Go Beach! I'll be scheduling a meeting as a follow-up with each one of your departments. At this meeting, we'll talk about what you viewed in the video, what questions you have, and I'd really like to get your thoughts. The ideas that you have matter a great deal to helping the college move forward. I hope that you'll be all in, and I'll see you soon.